Hi guys, welcome back. Ms Clarke here, and welcome to another lesson of learning for your CSEC examinations here on Ms Clarke's Math Space. So, in today's lesson, we would be doing a quick recap of directed numbers as well as correcting some of the homework that would have been given in our Google Classrooms. With that being said, have you registered as yet? So this is how our Google Classroom looks like. Ms Clarke's Math Space, material be popping on the regular every week, daily, there's a schedule. And this is what it's about. It's an informational hub for Caribbean students. And the primary focus here is our CSEC examinations to be able to ace those exams. So these would have already been posted, and for each lesson that we do, we are going to have our handouts, we're going to have summary sheets, we're going to have worksheets, and it's going to be bum diggity. Yes, I said it. All right, so let's move quickly to our recap session. And what are the rules for addition of directed numbers? Rule number one, so there are two main rules. Rule number one is when we are adding numbers with the same sign, we add these numbers, and the answer would have the same sign of the numbers. If we add in two positive numbers, the results would be a positive result. If we're adding two negative numbers, we're going to yield a negative result. So we have an example. We have positive 12 added to positive 3. We add the two numbers, 12 and 3 is 15, and we keep the sign of the numbers. So we end up getting positive 15. Likewise, if we have a negative 12 added to negative 3, we would get a negative result. So we add the two numbers, ignoring the sign, so we end up having 12 and 3 is 15, and then we keep the sign, which is negative. All right? So our second rule for addition of directed numbers is when we have two separate and different signs. So we have a positive sign and a negative sign. So in this case, you're going to ignore the signs and subtract the numerically smaller number from the numerically larger number. In some texts, you would see the word absolute value, just meaning that you're ignoring the signs, whether it's a positive sign or negative sign. So we have two examples, a few examples. So following the cursor, as you can see, the answer would have the same sign as the numerically larger number. So the first example, we have positive 12 added to negative 3. So ignoring the signs, we have a 12 and a 3. What's the first step? We're going to subtract the two numbers. So you're going to have 12 minus 3. 12 minus 3 is 9. Then we keep the sign of the numerically larger number. The larger number is 12. The sign that corresponds with 12 is a plus sign, so it's positive. So the answer would be positive 9, right? So you see it here, see the cursor. On to the next example, we have negative 12 added to positive 3. So we see we have two different signs. We have positive 3 and negative 12. So we find the difference between the two numbers, which is 9. 12 minus 3 is 9. And what is the numerically larger number here, or the absolute larger number? It's 12. So the sign that corresponds with 12 is a negative sign. You see a minus sign in front of it. So the answer would be negative 9. Moving on to the right side of the screen, we have plus 3 or positive 3 added to negative 8. Two different signs, you have a positive and a negative. So what we're going to do, we are going to find the difference between the two numbers. The difference between 8 and 3 is 5. And the sign of the larger number is 8. So therefore, our answer would be negative 5. Going on to the last example on this page, when you have two separate and different signs for adding directed numbers, we have negative 3 added to positive 8. We find the difference between the two numbers, which is 5, and 8 being the larger number. It corresponds to a plus sign or a positive sign, so our answer would be positive 5. Moving along to subtraction of directed numbers. And if I'm going too fast for you, feel free to look back at the other video where I would have been going at a much slower pace to make sure that you understand the concepts behind directed numbers and what a directed number is and the uses and examples, etc. So going on to the rules for subtraction of directed numbers, we know that subtraction is the opposite of addition. If you're not given, you're taken, right? And vice versa. So subtracting directed numbers is actually the same thing as adding the additive inverse of the number. What is an additive inverse? So if I'm adding 5, the opposite of adding 5 would be subtracting 5. If I'm adding 10, the opposite of adding 10 would be taking away 10. Likewise, if I'm taking away 15, the opposite of negative 15 would be positive 15. I'll be adding 15. All right? So the additive inverse of a positive number is a negative number, and vice versa. Vice versa meaning that the additive inverse of a negative number is a positive number. All right, and we have 2 examples here. The additive inverse of negative 3 is 3, and the additive inverse of negative 5 is positive 5, and vice versa, of course. So we have negative 2 take away positive 4. So what we want to do is we want to change the negative sign here, the subtract sign here, to a positive. And now we want to find the additive inverse of plus 4 or positive 4. The opposite of adding 4 is taking away 4. So we're going to have add negative 4. All right, so negative 2 take away plus 4 now becomes or is now equal to negative 2 plus negative 4. And once we have it in this form, we can now use the rules of addition of directed numbers. So in this case, remember there are 2 rules for addition of directed numbers. In this case, we have the same sign. We have negative 2 added to negative 4. So when we have the same signs in addition, we add the 2 numbers and keep the sign. So 2 and 4 is 6, and the sign is negative. So our answer would be negative 6. Next example, we have negative 3 take away negative 7. So we want to change the negative sign to a positive sign, to a plus sign, and now find the additive inverse of take away 7 or negative 7. If you're not taking away 7, the opposite of taking away 7 is adding 7. So we now have plus 7. And now we have negative 3 take away negative 7 being equal to negative 3 plus positive 7. So now we have to follow the rules of addition of directed numbers. So we have 2 separate signs, 2 different signs. We have negative 3 and we have positive 7. So according to rule number 2, in addition of directed numbers, when they have different signs, you find the difference between the 2 numbers and you keep the sign of the larger number, the larger numerical number, or the larger absolute number. So 7 minus 3 is 4, and the larger number here being 7 is plus. So you're going to have positive 4 being your answer. So we went through the rules of addition and subtraction of directed numbers, and now we're moving on to the rules of multiplication of directed numbers. This seems to be one that most students often remember. You'd always hear something like a plus by a plus is a plus, a negative by negative is a plus, a positive by negative, or a negative by positive is a negative. And I'm going to take my time to go through it now. So when you have these same signs with multiplication, you would always get a positive number when it relates to two numbers. So two numbers with the same sign, you're going to get a positive number. So the product of two positive numbers is positive, and the product of two negative numbers is positive. And although it's not written here, I'm going to give an example. So listen. So if you have 3 times 4, positive 3 multiplied by positive 4. A positive by a positive is a positive, so we know that our answer is going to be positive. And 3 multiplied by 4 is 12. So our answer would be positive 12. We might just write 12. Then, applying this rule, the product of two negative numbers is positive. So let's try 7, negative 7, and negative 3. A negative by negative is a positive, and 7 by 3 is 21. So our answer would be positive 21. So negative 7 multiplied by negative 3 would be positive 21. All right. And the next rule, as it relates to multiplication, is when it have two different signs. So if you have a positive by negative, you get a negative, as well as if you have a negative by positive, you get a negative. So the product of two numbers with different signs will be negative. And the same rules would apply for division. A positive number divided by a positive number is positive. A negative number divided by a negative number is also positive. So the rule says division with the same sign is positive. The quotient, which would be like a fraction, a top and a bottom, the quotient of two positive numbers is positive. The quotient of two negative numbers is positive. And when we have different signs, the answer will be negative. So the quotient of two numbers with different signs is negative. So if you have a positive number divided by a negative number, you get a negative result. Similarly, if we have a negative number divided by a positive number, we are going to get a negative answer. All right? Now we have a summary chart to help us remember these things here. So when we add in, you have the same sign, you add and you take the sign. So if you have two positive numbers that you add in, you add the two numbers, you get a positive sign. If it's two negative numbers that you add in, you add the two and you keep the negative sign. The examples are there to follow. When you are adding again and you have different signs, you subtract the two numbers, the so-called bigger number from the smaller number, well, bigger number minus smaller number, and you take the sign of the so-called bigger number. And we have example, we have negative 5 plus 9, you get 4. You find the difference between 9 and 5, which is 4, and the sign of the bigger number is positive 9. So that's how we get positive 4. Similarly, we have negative 13 plus 8. Different signs, you find the difference between the two numbers, which is 5, and you take the sign of the bigger number, 13 being bigger than 8. The sign in front of the 13 is a minus sign, so that's how we get negative 5. Rules for subtraction. We change the subtraction sign to a plus sign, and you add the additive inverse. So negative 3, take away plus 4, or positive 4 would be equal to negative 3 added to negative 4, and you work it out using the rules of addition. Same thing here, negative 5 take away negative 9, you change the subtraction sign to a plus sign, and the additive inverse for negative 9 would become plus 9. And then you work with the rules of addition of directed numbers. And the rules for multiplication and division, as you see here in the bottom here, when it's the same sign, we have two numbers or even numbers, you're going to get positive answer. And when we have different signs of two numbers, you're going to get a negative answer. All right, so I hope that that was enough for a quick recap as we are about to do our homework correction. Dum dum dum. So take out your books and let's correct. So question 1, we have -7 added to -7. So we have addition, so we know that there are two rules of addition. We have the same sign, a negative and a negative. So what we're going to do, we're going to add the two numbers and keep the sign, keep the minus sign. So you're going to have negative open bracket 7 plus 7, which is 14. And then you keep the sign. So the answer will be -14. Question 2, -3 take away -3. So you're going to change the negative sign here, where it's in my cursor, into a plus sign and find the additive inverse of -3, which would be adding 3. So you're going to have -3 plus +3. When you add in with two separate signs, two different signs, you find the difference between the two numbers. Difference between 3 and 3 is 0. And you take the sign of the bigger number. There's nothing really, and truly, it's not a bigger number. Either you take a negative or the positive, but at the end of the day, your answer is going to be 0. And we know that 0 is neither positive or negative. So the answer is just going to be 0. All right. Question 3, +4 plus -4. So we have +4 added to -4. Same thing, two different signs in addition. So if you subtract the two numbers, 4 minus 4 is 0, so you know that your answer is going to be 0, full stop. Neither positive or negative, just 0. Question 4, we have +2 take away -4. So we know that subtraction is the opposite of addition. So we now need to change that subtraction sign to a plus sign. So you're going to have +2 added to the additive inverse of -4, which is +4. So you're going to have +2 plus +4. So you're going to have +6 being your answer. Question 5, we have -3 plus -3. So rules of addition, rule number 1, we have the same sign. So what we're going to do, we're going to add the two numbers. 3 and 3 is 6. And then keep the sign, which is negative. So our answer is going to be -6. Put your ticks and let's move along. So we're going to question 6. We have 4 take away -5. We now need to change the negative sign to a plus sign and find the additive inverse of -5, which is +5 or +5. So you end up having 4 plus +5, which we know would be 9. 4 plus 5 is 9. Question 7. We have 7 plus -3 take away +5. So what we want to do here is to break it up. So we do it in twos, because remember in this homework setting, we're not just going to use our calculator, which will give us the answer flush, but we want to be able to understand how to do it on our own, especially when we have multiple choice question where we know that our calculators are not allowed. So we need to understand the concepts of what we're doing and why we're doing what we're doing. So we need to learn the rules and be able to apply the rules to maths. And remember, in maths, everything is a foundation. So we work on the foundation, then we'll be building the pillars and doing different topics. So this foundational topic of directed numbers is really, really important. So I'm really pausing to put this plug. Do not shortchange yourself by just saying, well, I know how to do it. You know, let me just wait on my calculator. Let's teach me how to use the plus and minus sign, and I'm good there. No, don't be lazy. Let's take our time and do it using the rules. And then we could double check on our calculators to make sure that we get it right. Make sense? Good. So we're on question 7. We have 7 plus -3 take away +5. So the first thing we want to do is the first two. We want to group the first two. So we have 7 plus -3. 7 plus -3, and then we just add the -5 afterwards. When we have 7 plus -3, we're going to get +4. And then we're going to have the +4 added to -5. And then when we apply our rules of addition with different signs, a positive and negative sign, we find the difference of the two numbers and we keep the sign of the bigger number. And that's how we get -1. It's right here. You see in my step-by-step working. If you want, you would see here, I would have worked the first two, and that's how I got this here. And then when this reduced to one number, I have 4 plus -5, and I work it out and I get -1. Feel free to pause the video and go through it piece by piece. Feel free to message me if you need me to go it over. All right. Question 8. We have 2 plus, we have 2 take away -4 plus -6. So we're working on the first two. We have 2 take away -4. The first thing we need to do is to change that first subtraction sign to a plus sign. And what is in brackets -4? We find the additive inverse of that, which becomes +4. We work out that 2 plus +4, which we know is 6. 2 plus 4 is 6. So now we're going to have 6 plus -6. So using the rules, rule number 2 of addition, we have separate signs, 2 different signs. We have a negative sign and a positive sign. We're going to find the difference between the two numbers. 6 take away 6 is 0. So our answer will be 0. 0 is neither positive or negative. Question 9, we have 5 plus -2 take away +1. So working the first two first, we have 5 plus -2. Work that out, 5 plus -2. When that works out, we're going to get +3. And then we're going to take the +3 and take away +1, which becomes 3 plus -1, which becomes 3 minus 1, which we know to be 2. I'll just give you a minute to look over. All right, so we're on question 10. We have -2 take away -4. So that take away sign now needs to change to a plus sign. And now we're going to add the additive inverse of -4, which is +4. So the question becomes -2 plus +4. And then applying the rules of addition of directed numbers, we are going to get +2 being our answer. Let's move on. Question 11. We have multiplication. We have -3 multiplied by -9. So we have two of the same signs multiplying by each other. So a negative by a negative is going to give us a positive. So the negative by the negative is going to give us a positive, and then we just multiply the two numbers. 3 multiplied by 9 is 27. That's how we get +27 or +27 being our answer. Question 12. We have -2 multiplied by +8. So in multiplication, we have different signs, 2 different signs. So we have a negative by positive, so we know that we're going to get a negative answer. And then we multiply the two numbers, 2 multiplied by 8, which is 16. So our answer is going to be -16. Question 13. 7 multiplied by -5. What we're going to do? We are going to multiply, and we're going to have our answer there. So 7 multiplied by -5 is going to be -35. Question 14, we have -6 bracket -4. Brackets, in this case, would mean multiplication. So we have -6 multiplied by -4. A negative by negative is a positive. -6 multiplied by -4 is going to give us a positive number. 6 by 4 is 24, so our answer would be positive 24. Question 15, we have -3 multiplied by 5. You're going to have a negative by positive, giving you a negative. So our answer is going to be -15. So answer is -15. Question 16, we have 5 multiplied by -9. When we multiply a positive by a negative, we're going to get a negative answer. So you're going to get -45. Moving on to number 17. So we're picking up the pace a little bit more. So we know that it's the same rules for multiplication and division. So in this section, we're working on division. A negative divided by a negative is going to give us a positive number. 27 divided by 7 is 28 divided by 7 is 4. So that's how we're going to get +4. 36 divided by -12 is going to be -3. -2 divided by -2 is going to be +1. -18 divided by 6 is going to be -3. Moving to question 21, we have to apply or BODMAS more or less to mixed operations involving directed numbers. And it's there for you to work out. So I don't want to talk as much. I just want you all to read and go through. So feel free to pause the video. All right. Moving on to the next slide. We have 26 to 30. And I think I'll just do the last two. So question 29, we have 7 multiplied by 2, take away 6, plus 4 in brackets. So we know we need to work the brackets first. So inside the brackets, we have 6 plus 4, which is 10. So it becomes 7 multiplied by 2, take away 10. We do multiplication first before subtraction. So 7 times 2 is 14. 14 take away 10 is 4. And as my time is up, so sorry that I had us to rush this down yet again, but bear with me. All right, so those are the answers. Feel free to reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram, Google Classroom, sign up, Ms Clarke's Math Space. Have a great day, and remember, your success depends on you. So take care. Bye.